All feelings are normal, and all feelings have meaning. Every time you feel something, there is a reason behind it. That includes the difficult ones: fear, stress, anxiety, and dread. Feeling them is not a weakness, it's human. You don't have to stop feeling scared. You just have to learn what to do with it. Let's talk about what actually happens in your body when you step up to the plate, walk onto the field, or sit down for an important test. We have three parts of the brain. When everything is fine, our human brain is in charge. We think, plan, and learn. But when we perceive something as threatening, our brain shifts to its older, more primitive parts. The oldest of these is sometimes called the lizard brain, and it takes control the moment it senses danger. A lizard doesn't plan its escape. It just runs. And your brain does the same thing when it decides a situation is threatening, even if that situation is a baseball game. When this happens, your body goes into one of three survival modes. Fight. You become tense, aggressive, and intense. You might grip the bat too hard, throw with too much force, and lose all feeling for the ball. Flight. You hesitate, you stall, you want to get out. As a batter, you don't want to swing. As a pitcher, you don't want to throw. Freeze. You go passive, like a deer in headlights. Your timing is off, your swing is slow and uncoordinated. There is also a fourth reaction: collapse. When too much energy has built up and there's no outlet, the body simply shuts down. It's not weakness. It's a biological overflow. Here's the important part. You cannot fully control this reaction because your brain triggers it automatically. The game feels like danger, so your body responds like it's in danger. That's not your fault. But knowing this means you can start working with it rather than against it. After the stress response, the body also needs to release that built-up energy. You'll notice animals shaking themselves after a scare. That's not accidental. It's the nervous system resetting. Shaking, moving, and breathing deeply after a stressful moment does the same thing for you. When you're in fight or flight mode, your breathing becomes fast and shallow. This sends a signal to your brain. Danger is here. But here's the trick. You can reverse it. When you breathe slowly and steadily, you send the opposite signal. Everything is fine. Your brain receives that information and begins to calm the body down. You're essentially talking your nervous system out of the alarm state. Exercise 1. Interval breathing. Inhale slowly through your nose for 5 seconds. Exhale slowly for 5 seconds. Repeat. You can find guided animations for this on YouTube. If you feel sleepy or relaxed afterward, it worked. Exercise 2. 5-finger breathing. Trace your hand. Inhale as your finger goes up each finger. Exhale as it goes down. One full hand is one round. You can do this anywhere, anytime, because you always have your hand with you. The key with all of these: practice them when you're calm. Just like in baseball, you have to train a skill before you can use it under pressure. If you only try breathing exercises when you're already panicking, they won't work as well. Do them at home, before practice, before sleep. Build the habit. Stress lives in the mind. Grounding pulls you back into your body and into the present moment. Simple grounding. Look around you. Find one object that gives you a good feeling. A color, a texture, something you like. Focus on it for a few seconds. Notice how that small act brings you out of your spiraling thoughts and into the here and now. The safe place exercise. Close your eyes. Take a few slow breaths. Imagine a place, real or imaginary, where you feel completely safe and calm. Notice the colors, sounds, smells, and how your body feels there. Let that feeling of calm spread through you. Now, you can anchor that feeling to an object you're holding. Something small you can keep with you. Every time you touch it before a game or a test, it can bring you back to that place. These techniques aren't magic. They're mental training. The more you practice them, the more effective they become. Your self-image is the story you tell about yourself. And it matters enormously because that story shapes how you perform under pressure. When you miss a shot or make an error, what do you say to yourself? If the answer is harsh, I'm terrible. I always mess up. I'm the worst on the team. Then you're training your brain to believe it. And when the pressure is on, that's the voice that gets loudest. Think about social media too. When you scroll and compare yourself to others, you're comparing your worst moments to their best moments. That's a losing game. It damages self-image quietly and constantly. Building a strong self-image means learning to talk to yourself the way you'd talk to a teammate you respect. You wouldn't tell your teammate they're useless after one bad play. So don't say it to yourself. A strong self-image doesn't mean thinking you're perfect. It means having a stable foundation, one that doesn't collapse when things go wrong, when someone criticizes you, or when you lose. It means you can face difficulty without it defining you. Mental strength doesn't exist separately from physical health. The way you treat your body directly affects how your brain handles stress. This isn't about being perfect. It's about giving yourself the conditions to succeed. The self-care essentials for young athletes. Sleep. Aim for 8 to 10 hours. While you sleep, your body and brain repair and consolidate what you've learned. Professional athletes like Roger Federer and Usain Bolt are known for sleeping 10 to 12 hours. Sleep is not laziness. It's performance. Nutrition and hydration. What you eat fuels everything. It might not feel important now, but it supports your body through your career and long after. Recovery days. Rest is part of training, not a break from it. Screen time and phones. Research shows that looking at your phone in the 30 minutes before a game slows your reaction time and reduces focus. Fast-moving content trains your brain to expect constant stimulation, which makes it harder to sustain the kind of deep focus baseball requires. Limit screens before games, before training, and especially before sleep. Mental relaxation, the breathing and grounding techniques from earlier count as self-care. Do them regularly. Ask for help. Knowing when to reach out to a coach, teammate, parent, or professional is a strength, not a weakness. Self-care is how you reset your nervous system. The better you take care of yourself, the more resilience you have when things get tough. Meditation is one of the most practical mental tools for athletes, and it's deeply underused. The goal of meditation is not to clear your mind. It's to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. Thoughts will come. Your job is not to grab onto them, but to let them pass and gently return your attention to your breathing. That skill, redirecting your focus, is exactly what you need in baseball. One pitch at a time. One moment at a time. The ability to not dwell on the last at-bat and be fully present for the next one. A simple practice. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and observe your breathing. Don't try to change it. Just notice it. When your mind wanders, and it will, gently bring your attention back. Start with 1 minute. Build from there. Like all the skills here, the more you practice, the more available it becomes when you need it. Everything we've talked about, managing fear, building self-image, practicing self-care, doesn't just make you better for yourself. It makes you a better teammate. How you treat yourself affects how you treat others. If you're harsh and critical with yourself, that energy tends to come out in how you respond to your teammates' mistakes too. But when you learn to give yourself grace, you naturally make more space for others. Team safety is not just the responsibility of coaches or captains. Every single player builds it or breaks it. If even one person is consistently critical, mocking, or dismissive, nobody on the team feels safe. And when people don't feel safe, they can't take risks, can't ask for help, and can't give their best. But when a team is genuinely supportive, when a dropped ball is met with "no problem next time" instead of a groan or a remark, something changes. People want to improve. They know they have room to try and to fail and to grow. There's a real physical difference in how those two environments feel. Unsupportive feedback creates heaviness and tension. Supportive feedback creates lightness and energy. Team safety means being supportive with your words, especially when someone makes a mistake. Using a respectful tone, even when you disagree. Being aware that a teammate might be under pressure you can't see. Knowing when to step back and take care of yourself. Knowing how to ask for help. Teamwork doesn't require everyone to always agree. It requires everyone to be respectful, even when they don't. To bring it all together. 1. Accept your feelings. Fear, stress, and anxiety before a game are natural. They are your body's protective response, not signs of weakness. You cannot fight them away, but you can learn to move through them. 2. Understand your reactions. Fight, flight, or freeze. Knowing which mode you go into helps you respond instead of just react. 3. Use your tools. Breathing techniques and grounding exercises can regulate your nervous system in real time. Train them when you're calm so they're available when you need them. 4. Build your self-image. Talk to yourself with respect. Avoid comparing yourself to others. Your foundation should be stable enough to hold you through mistakes and criticism. 5. Take care of yourself. Sleep, eat well, limit screens, rest. The physical and the mental are not separate. 6. Create safety in your team. Your words and your attitude shape the environment everyone performs in. Be the teammate you'd want to have. Mental training is no different from physical training. You have to practice it, consistently, and before you need it. The athletes who do are the ones who stay calm when it counts.